to shop and do business, and the USA Flea Market is not that place. So Pasco County is shutting down the USA Flea Market effective immediately. This applies to all the buildings on the 40-acre site. Now, there are about 70 vendors that are affected by this closure, and we at the county are dedicated to working with these vendors to help them secure other places, other safer places to do business here in the county. Again, this is one of the first major actions the county is taking under the new high return enforcement approach, which is a collaborative effort of several departments and groups throughout the county, from the sheriff's office to the county attorney's office, fire inspections, code enforcement, building inspections, stormwater management, environmental lands, and customer service. This is a team-wide approach that we are taking to make sure that our citizens are safe when they go into businesses. Now, this is not an attack to shut down buildings that support businesses. We want businesses open. We want those places to do business, but we cannot allow them to be and survive and operate in a building that is unsafe for the public. At this location, the violations are so serious and so numerous that the county is left with no choice but to act in the interest of public safety, for the safety of the vendors who work there, for the safety of the public who shops there. We have to shut this place down. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to the Assistant County Administrator for Public Safety, Kevin Guthrie.
Thank you, Dan. Again, Kevin Guthrie, Assistant County Administrator for Public Safety. I'd like to begin by reiterating a point that County Administrator Biles made, and that is that public safety is our main priority. As you take a look to the video here to my right, your left, you'll see our team members actually doing the inspections and pointing out problems that were shot inside of the USA Flea Market Friday. You're going to see dozens of examples as this video loop continues to play on while we're continuing the press conference. These are examples of serious health and life safety issues. Fire inspectors, underneath the direction of the fire marshal, visited the flea market in late April and found repeated fire code violations throughout the property. Some of those major violations include inadequate or damaged fire sprinkler systems, improperly maintained fire hydrants, inadequate fire alarm system coverage, electrical, including issues with wiring, breaker panels, and outlets, not enough fire exits, lack of exit signs and lighting, propane tanks that are improperly stored on the premises, and then non-permitted buildings with no fire code review. There is simply no real fire protection on this property at all. We've also documented unpermitted work that violates floodplain regulations. This particular area is inside of a floodplain, therefore it should have gone through some of the basic floodplain elevation. This is unauthorized construction in a flood zone, as I just mentioned. It endangers the neighbors' eligibility for federally backed flood insurance and for certain federal disaster assistance if that need should arise. For instance, we just had Tropical Storm Colin last year, as well as Hurricane Hermine. This particular business may have affected the ability for us to get different grants had it been a truly catastrophic situation. With that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Assistant County Administrator Don Rosenthal over Developmental Services.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm Don Rosenthal, Assistant County Administrator in charge of Development Services. First, I'd like to thank our team of investigators, sheriff deputies, and inspectors who went through the USA Flea Market step by step, identifying all of these public safety issues. In addition to all the repeated code violations, our team also found hundreds of building code violations throughout the property. Now, some of these include building alterations, non-permitted building additions, construction violations, technical code violations, and again, as Kevin mentioned, hundreds of electrical code violations. Code enforcement officers, building inspectors, and an unrelated investigation went to the dealer's auto exchange auction operating at the USA Flea Market. They discovered 2 buildings that were not part of the approved conditional use for this property. These properties had been substantially modified to support the auction activity. One building was converted into a business office, another building was converted into an auction hall. These modifications are not permitted in a flood zone, so this is unpermitted work and violates basic code and safety regulations. Electrical and building failures were common, we have more than 70 tenants that were complaining about building conditions. Based on the findings from the walkthrough of the USA Flea Market, the team has determined, as the county administrator mentioned, that catastrophic failure was imminent, so the market has to be closed. Although we're closing the flea market, Pasco County is committed to working with these vendors to help them find a reliable, safe place to work. We have several team members here to help answer any questions that you might have, but first I'd like to invite Ms. Monica Santiago to address our Spanish friends and neighbors.
Thank you, Dan. Hola y gracias por venir. Mi nombre es Mónica Santiago y soy una coordinadora de emergencia para el Condado de Pasco. El administrador del Condado de Pasco, el señor Dan Biles, quiere que todos sepan que la seguridad del público es su prioridad y por lo tanto de aquí en adelante el condado estará tomando medidas nuevas y proactivas en cuanto a la aplicación del Código de Esfuerzo. En investigaciones hechas recientemente, el Centro del Mercado USA, ubicado entre la carretera 19 y la carretera estatal 52 en Hudson, ha revelado cientos de violaciones. Estas violaciones fluctúan entre violaciones de códigos de construcción locales y estatales, violaciones de códigos eléctricos y de incendios, los cuales poseen grandes riesgos a la comunidad. Nuestros oficiales de Código de Esfuerzo han expresado que estas violaciones comerciales han sido las peores que hayan visto en 40 años. Los ciudadanos del Condado de Pasco y los patrones que trabajan en el mercado merecen visitar y trabajar en un lugar seguro y desafortunadamente el centro del mercado no está llenando esas expectativas. Con todo esto en mente, el señor Biles ha anunciado que estará cerrando el condado del mercado inmediatamente. Este cierre es efectivo para todos los negocios que se encuentran en la parcela y constituye aproximadamente 40 acres y 70 vendedores. No obstante, el condado de Pasco está dedicado a trabajar con los vendedores y ayudarles a conseguir otros lugares de trabajo más seguros. Esta es una de las primeras acciones que el condado estará tomando durante el nuevo enfoque llamado High Return Enforcement. Este enfoque es de colaboración entre un sinnúmero de departamentos y agencias encontrados en el condado. El señor Biles quiere que todos entiendan que de ninguna manera queremos cerrar los edificios que constituyen de negocios pequeños. Sin embargo, él dice que estas violaciones son tan severas que el condado no tiene otra elección que actuar de acuerdo a la seguridad de los ciudadanos y los vendedores que trabajan en el condado. Gracias.
So at this point, we'd like to invite our team members to join us, the ones that were actually on the site and found a lot and did a lot of the investigations. They're going to come in now. And once they get in, we'll be happy to answer any questions you have about this at this time.
Is the person you mentioned who said this was the worst code violation they've seen in 40 years present today?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that person able to come up to the podium?
Yes, sure.
Do you mind introducing yourself and saying and spelling your name?
Officer Hunt, H-U-N-T, Code Enforcement,
And your first name?
James.
Can you just describe to us, I know we got the overall picture of what the code violations were, but that's a pretty bold statement to say this is the worst you've seen in 40 years of doing this job across the state. I mean, can you kind of describe to us what you were seeing and how you were feeling, what was going through your head?
When you look at the video, you're going to see a large part of the structure is held up by double 2x4s with a small cleat between them. You won't find that anywhere else. They're all bowed. Every one of them is bowed. In the video, you're going to see rafters that have split and are sagging, have been sistered, reattached, and that split. You're going to see pieces of wall and roof falling all over the place. Open panels, when you they're not locked. Open the door to the panel, you're going to see exposed 220 wires. If your child got away, open that panel, it's over right there. Fire systems, they're just not working, they're not present. There's no way to get out of that building with a little smoke. The lighting's incorrect. It's just unsafe all the way around.
In layman's terms, like for anyone who may be seeing this who has gone to this flea market with their family, what would you say to them, or what would you think about someone doing that?
Going in that building right now, you're going to have a very difficult time getting out in any type of incident at all. If you're disabled in any way, There's no bathrooms to go to there, for one. You get caught up in the crowd. It's hard to navigate in that place.
And dangerous.
Very dangerous.
How long might it take to fix these code violations, and is the owner willing
Let me speak to that, Jim. Hi, my name is Christy Sims. I'm a senior assistant county attorney. I want to let you know what the county has done and what the county intends to do, and part of that depends on the response by the owner. Yesterday, the county sent notice to the owner, giving the owner notice that by order of the fire marshal and order of the building official, the structures cannot be occupied. We've also given the owner notice that we think that our licensed officials think that all of the construction that is on the property right now violates both the technical codes, that from everything from a Florida Building Code to the National Electric Code to the floodplain management regulations. The county's floodplain administrator has opined that this structure cannot remain on the property as it is. It certainly could be removed, and that would bring the property owner into into compliance with the county's codes, or it could be removed and rebuilt in a way that meets the floodplain regulations, which will require elevation. But in the meantime, our building official and fire marshal have determined that the buildings are not safe to be occupied. The building official will also be considering whether to terminate the electric service to the structures over the next week or so.
How often do you guys go in there and check? Like, obviously these problems couldn't have cropped up overnight. I mean, when's the last time that there was a check, and how long has it been like this?
Well, this is a new way of doing business. This is a new proactive approach to code enforcement and fire violations. Part of the high return enforcement, if you will, that the commission has directed us to work with our county partners, the sheriff, in doing these things. So it's a new approach. We have new leaders from the top down, and so our approach is designed to be more proactive and less reactive. And so we want to go in there and make sure that buildings are safe. And a lot of the code enforcement stuff in the past has been reactive. It's been complaint based. And so in this, a high return thing, we want to be a proactive approach. And so this is a new program, and it's a new way of doing business here in Pasco County to make sure that when our citizens and our vendors are in facilities like this, that they are in a safe place to work and to do business and to make sales transactions.
With this new program, is this the first to have suffered something like this that you've come across, or has there been other places that you've checked?
No, this is the first. This is a first.
So when's the last time you guys did check this flea market?
We looked at this flea market some years ago. The last time that we were there was in 2009.
Was that complaint-based that you were out there?
It was complaint-based. That's how all our inspections were based on this type of problem, where they were based on a complaint.
How could it not be on some schedule of review for 8 years before getting a complaint, and that apparently being the impetus for this visit?
Well, again, it was a change in how we do business. Prior to this, we were complaint-based, so if we didn't get a complaint, we didn't go out and take a look at it. But the commissioners have decided that we needed to be more proactive. As a result of that, we're looking at how to do everything better in Pasco County. And one of those things that's going to impact our bottom line is how we look at problems.
When did this new program take over?
It's just been a few months.
The board approved the program at its second meeting in April. So the program, the high return team, was conceived by various team members in March, which is right about the time our code enforcement officers were at the flea market in connection with an unrelated investigation. And the high return team was conceived and brought to the board as a way to take the worst code violations and prioritize attorney time and prioritize, limited personnel and limited resources to focus on the most dangerous, egregious issues or issues that are repeated. So the board approved the concept in April, And the high return enforcement team, of which the county attorney's office is part of, spent May guiding investigators to complete and fill out investigations on potential targets that the team had identified and prioritize them ending, I believe we finished prioritizing them on June 2nd. So at that point, we had a list of targets, and this one was near the top, if not the top of the list. Yes, the board approved. The board certainly expressed their approval of the concept of code enforcement, building inspections, all enforcement actions, whether they're environmental, code-based, animal control, of our personnel being more proactive and using the county attorney's office to determine what enforcement options might exist out of the normal issue a citation, they go to court, and resolve that citation.
I think you guys touched on this, but are the people, the 70 some odd vendors that were there, is that right? Are they able to get their wares out of there, and where will they go from there?
They were able to get their wares out of the building. We are working with them on ways where they can go. Now it's, part of those are private businesses, and so some of it they're working through on their own as well. But we are trying to assist and be helpful in that situation, because they're in a tough situation as well. They're a business; they need a place to sell their their wares, and so we're kind of helping guiding them to places we know that may be open in the county for them.
What has been the reaction from them? Are they understanding of the situation? What has been the reaction?
So again, the question was, so what are we doing to reach out to them, and have they been notified? At this point in time, we almost simultaneously to this press conference, the LLC that owns the business has been notified. So this is unfolding with this press conference, and we will be communicating with, via the mass media as well as social media, those vendors that are there. It is our hope that the LLC will start reaching out to their vendors, notifying them. However, we were well aware that maybe the only notification these individuals get is by way of this press conference. So as we end up finding out who those people are, we as a county are committed to working with them to, again, as a county administrator, find a location, help them get to a location that they can continue to conduct their business safely.
And Kevin, you were talking about the flooding issue and how this affects residents. Can you elaborate on that and how that could affect the nearby residents?
Right. So, when we have a disaster, one of the things that they're going to look at, and when I say they, FEMA, will look at for public assistance grants, small business, in this particular case, a SBA or Small Business Administration type grant, was this business a victim because of the flood, the amount of water that came up, or was this victim a business because of their own negligence? Well, in this case, this would be they were a victim because they did not comply with base floodplain elevation through Don's branch and complying with those building codes and standards. So then, yes, that could cause a dig, if you will, into building regulations, into other people, and do they actually comply with, and then it affects the overall rating and grant process that could come into Pasco County. So again, for the approach, this is a team approach, it's a proactive approach to start finding violations of those types across the county. This team is working together simultaneously, not on just this one project, but other projects as well. This was the #1 public safety project that these guys are in, and also, as the county administrator said, this is a first that we're going to this level with. But, I have ventured to say there will probably be more that we are taking a public safety developmental services approach with to see if they need to be shut down or can we get them into compliance with what they should have.
I'm still kind of confused about how it could maybe affect the nearby residents. I think you had mentioned that.
Yeah, so again, as FEMA starts to dig, were there nearby residences that also didn't build? Did they do add-on structures? Did they not comply with base floodplain elevation? Again, it causes, I hate to use this term, but I can't think of a better one. It causes more scrutiny as we are looked at by a county when we do a public assistance and individual assistance claim.
But the residents do it because of their own negligence, though. This is not
Right. So again, if we had somebody that made an individual assistance claim and they were 100% in compliance with going and getting the proper permits and things of that nature, it's not going to affect them. But again, if somebody has an individual assistance claim and they did something similar where they put an add-on to their house, it was below base floodplain elevation and so on, it just again causes, instead of taking it at face value, FEMA and the state will dig into every single home to ensure that they were in compliance with all regulations.
sounds like the people affected are just the vendors, really, and business.
On this particular case today, yes, the ones that are affected are the vendors and and more specifically the LLC behind the
Complaints from nearby businesses at all?
the complaints. Again, we'll have to go back to Don.
The question was, did we get complaints from nearby businesses? We got complaints from the businesses themselves because the electrical violations and problems that they were experiencing on a daily basis were, in some instances, life-threatening type violations, as shock hazards, grounding hazards. Those are things that a person can lose their life over right away. We also had the situation where if there was an incident, as I think Kevin and the county manager alluded to, and there was any type of emergency situation, there was no clear exits, no way of getting out quickly as it should be. So you would have people piling up at some location not knowing how to get out, and that too could cause death. So this was a very, very serious situation.
Did you already release the name of the LLC that owns it, and also is there a dollar attachment with all of these violations that you guys are?
I'm going to defer to the county attorney.
So the county's notice that was sent yesterday is available to all of you. It's quite bulky because it contains an attachment with a number of photos, selected photos. But the entity that owns it it's a series of initials and numbers, NAICIDP, is that correct? Sorry. Let me start over. The entity that owns it is NAIDIP 19-52, LLC. So that's the corporate entity. Right, yeah. I'm sorry, I can't give you John Smith, flea market. That's not what we're dealing with. It's a corporate entity that is a series of initials and numbers. The legal filing, the other question was, are there monetary fines associated with it at this point? Not at this point, because this is notice to them. The county's action at this point is to preclude occupancy based on the fire marshal's order and the building official's order. And as I stated earlier, the next steps are really going to be dictated by the response that we get from the owner. So until, if necessary, of course, the county is going to go to court and enforce its orders, and that may carry significant financial penalties if I have to file something and have a court fine them to be in violation of all of the codes associated with this. But at this point, it's notice and the county's demands for how they need to comply.
Is there any monetary attachment in 2009 when there was complaints against them? Clearly they didn't fix things, right?
Yeah, I'm not aware of the background. I'm only aware of the conditions that were discovered in April of this year. I can't say what the conditions were that were discovered then or whether they were resolved.
A couple of the issues seem to be fire ordinances and all that. When was the last time, do we know, that fire department was out there checking on some of those things? I know my office, they come in, they give us our runaround and all that, so.
Good morning, Carl Thompson, Fire Marshal, Pasco County. The question is, when was the last time there was a fire inspection? We've done some individual occupancy inspections in 2013 and 14, and the last one in 15 for a place that makes funnel cakes. However, we had not done a complete inspection of the entire property until April of this year, and the previous one before that was in 2009, and then 2006 before that.
I just want to finish up. Again, thank you all for coming today. One final comment. The businesses affected or citizens can call the Pasco County Customer Service line at 727-999-5555. 727-847-2411 if they want information about our action today. So it's, again, 727-847-2411 is a Pasco County customer service line for the businesses and citizens affected by the action we're taking today. All right?
So this was, real quick, this was discovered in April, but it's just shut down today. Were people
Correct.
in danger the last couple months? Or how did you put that?
Well, I mean, we discovered the violations back then, but it's a process to go through to build the order and put everything in place to be able to actually take this action today. So, you know, the situation existed, as you'll see on the video, but it takes us a while to get to the place where we are today.
About how many, do you guys know about how many people like go to this flea market on a regular basis? Is it just a weekend thing, and like about numbers of people?
Okay, so the question is how many people go to this on a weekly or daily basis, and I do not know the answer to that. Does somebody else have an estimate? I know we have about 70 vendors that go there, so that would tell me that there are hundreds of people or more that would go there on a weekend. So
It's only on weekends, or it's every
only on weekends, although I think there are some individual things that happen during the week, like the auto auction and stuff like that.
But mainly it's weekends.
Yes, ma'am. Mainly it's weekends.
Yeah, that's right.
Hundreds of people.
At least. So
More than 1,000 on a weekend.
right. So probably more than 1,000 on a weekend. So, well, again, thanks again for coming today, and we appreciate your time.